Welcome into Bears Weekly, powered by IGS Energy, a Chicago Bears network production. Bears Weekly is brought to you by Advocate Healthcare, Athletico Physical Therapy, CDW, Connie's Pizza, IGS Energy, and Miller Lite. Here are your hosts, Jeff Joniak, a.k.a. the Mayor of Bearsville, and his sidekick, Tom the Surfmaster Thayer.
Happy Tuesday night, everybody, and let us be the first to wish everyone a Happy New Year. 2025 ending with a bang as the Bears are headed to the playoffs and now fight for the number 2 seed in the NFC as they prepare to host the Detroit Lions at Soldier Field. We discuss tonight on Bears Weekly here on ESPN 1000 and the Chicago Bears Radio Network. With Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Coming up, we run some of our Bears Etc. podcast interview we had yesterday with Bears head coach Ben Johnson. We air our player profile interview with quarterback Caleb Williams and visit with former Bears quarterback Jim Miller from SiriusXM NFL Radio. Dan Barilli, Jordan Tredup, Katie Fox, our producers. In studio tonight, Kendra Smith, and our executive producer of the Bears Radio Network is Eric Ostrowski. Tom, good evening. Bears got involved in a shootout in Santa Clara, had the ball in the final say in the game, just how Caleb likes it, but they always don't finish the way you'd want. They've had a great run of success in that regard, but got to be impressed with what they continue to do and fight their tails off to win every single game.
I'm amazed at how just a handful of plays can decide the outcome of the game. And if you have those handful of plays go one way or the other, sometimes it can lead to a victory, but sometimes it can lead to a frustrating loss like the other night. So, but that's encouraging to me because this is not something that we're struggling for something to say 20 minutes into the game. This is something that you're yelling into the mic down to the final play of the game. And I think it's exciting. And you hear it from the people that we talk to in our personal lives, and you hear it from the people that in the football world that we talk to.
And they wanted to stay alive for that number 1 seed. That's not in the cards, but they are really gunning for that number 2 seed. Ben Johnson made it clear he wants the number 2 seed. And that does mean a potential of 2 playoff games at home. So if things go the right way, you're playing 2 games at home, and he's feeling real comfortable in that building right now with that fan base.
Yeah, I mean, just what we've been talking about over the last quite a few years is just the Bears getting into the playoffs and let things unfold the way they will. And I think that's exactly the way that I feel about this season, but I'm so much more encouraged by what this team is all about, and they can battle with anybody in the National Football League. And so I think that's increased my expectations for this team in the playoffs. Not just satisfied about making it now I want to see them win games.
Oh yeah, once you get a little taste, right? And you start thinking big picture. But I really think, and you and I have discussed this multiple times now, the types of ways they've won games, I think, will pay dividends in the postseason. Now, some of these guys certainly have never played in the preseason, and it does ratchet up to a level that you can't comprehend as a player until you actually experience it. They may think they've felt it in some of these games lately. Packer game, obviously, San Francisco game would qualify as a playoff-type atmosphere. But you know what that difference is, even from that San Francisco game when it felt so much like a major playoff game. Tell us what that intensity difference is like.
You know, it's just the belief that you can go out there and compete to the very bitter end. And listen, you can listen to it in your interview with Ben Johnson in his voice, because just because you stayed overnight in San Francisco, you had 5 hours to study the tape, you're back in his office now. He's no less frustrated about it than he was that immediately when the final gun sounded. But as you mentioned, the way that the Bears have won some of these games and the belief that stays in them until the very end, and they know if it's down to the last series or the last play that they're capable of winning big games. And to me, it's encouraging from what the Bears have proved to themselves, but it's also encouraging because it's really got to put the sense of fear in any opponent that they're playing.
Oh, yeah. Every year we come up with a couple teams, man, I don't want to face those guys in the playoffs. The Bears have to be in that category because while the defense still needs some attention, obviously, they are taking the ball away and they're making big plays at key moments. So they are doing things that put the fear in an opposing team. They got to protect the football against the Bears because the Bears are going to be grappling at that ball. They're going to be trying raking out the ball. They're going to intercept the ball, and you have to be on your game to make sure you beat a Bears defense. And that's
Right,
just
but
the way this is falling out right now.
But at the opposite end of the spectrum, you go back and you look at the Black Friday game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, we went in there with apprehension because you're talking about Vic Fangio and a dominant defense. And then the Bears leave that day with 281 yards rushing. So I know there's been a lot of conversation about the amount of turnovers that the Bears are creating, but you look at the yards that they're producing on offense. So this is definitely a double-edged sword, and the special teams are, they're doing enough to really help this football team win games.
Now comes the end of the regular season. Week 18 rematch with Dan Campbell's Lions. We thought when the season was starting to unveil itself that game would mean something, and it does. It does mean a lot for the Chicago Bears. What it means to the Lions is their business. That was the only game that the Bears were out of this season. It got away from them in week 2. That lingers as well. Believe me, that's in their heads. These guys are unsatisfied at the time being right now. They are an unsatisfied football team, these Bears.
There's as many storylines about this upcoming game than there has been about any game this season. And I don't care what's not on the line for the Detroit Lions. There's a lot on the line for the Bears, and that's psychologically, physically, emotionally, and a lot of elements that go into the game that aren't necessarily under your shoulder pads. It's more about, the preparation leading up to it.
The Bears allowing just 10 points on opening possessions. I'd like to see a fast start. Again, shut them down early, get them thinking about the offseason. I don't know if that's possible with a Dan Campbell-led football team, but it's the fewest in the league and the fewest in the NFL since 2021. Carolina was in that regard, and that just sets the tone for a fast start. Now the Bears have to deliver on the offensive side of that as well, but whatever yardage has been allowed defensively, those 10 points on opening possessions is very critical.
Well, it really means everything to a defensive coordinator and an offensive coordinator. If you have limited points against, then you can be more aggressive calling plays. I think your approach to trying to win the battle of time of possession that relates to scoring, and it gives your defensive an opportunity to be more aggressive. So the way it goes, it's like a slinky going from hand to hand. You don't give up points, you can be more aggressive. If you get points, then you can be more aggressive on defense. Right. So that's just the rhythm of a football game that you try to go in with week in and week out.
Defense with 9 straight games with a takeaway for the first time since 2012, so I think it's the longest streak in the NFL right now. So outstanding stuff. And you bring up a slinky. Tom, did you own one?
Of course. Who didn't? I got a staircase right behind me,
I just
Jeff,
was thinking
in
that.
the house that I grew up with my whole life. And you run slinkies down the stairs, and it's like a magical toy.
Exactly. The simplicity and the joy it brings, right? For sure. All right, when we come up next, we've got our interview with Ben Johnson from our Bears Etc. podcast as he recaps the 42-38 loss to the 49ers. And just ahead as well, Caleb Williams, a sit-down with him and Jim Miller later in the program. This is Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 and the Bears Radio Network.
Welcome back to Bears Weekly on the Bears Radio Network. Here's your host, the voice of the Bears, Jeff Joniak.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by IGS Energy with Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak. So Ben Johnson sits down with us every week after a Bears game and did so recapping the loss after we arrived from Santa Clara on Monday afternoon. A powerful interview and a powerful statement about where his mind is at all times. Let's listen in to our interview with the Bears head coach. Taxing for the team and for the head coach and play caller, but are you thriving in moments like this, though, as a head coach and play caller, and seeing these guys also thrive in these moments?
Yeah, I do think we kind of rise to that occasion, and it just stinks when you come up one play short like that, and kind of felt it a few weeks ago against Green Bay at Lambeau, same kind of story there, and so you just don't like the taste of it, and that'll never grow old. I don't think when you're a competitor, it's hard to sleep after games like that. And, I am so proud of the guys for how they went out there and they competed and they made it close there at the end. And yet we couldn't find a way. So, will we go back to the drawing board and start all over again this week?
Yeah. There are cliches you could talk about many, many different ways, but if winning matters, losing hurts. And you could feel it from your guys. they said the same thing you did. So
Yeah.
they were hoping it was going to be a hat and T-shirt kind of day.
Yeah. And we acknowledged the fact that morning. We acknowledged yesterday morning. We acknowledged the fact that we had won the division. All right, we gave each other high fives real quick, and then we quickly turned the page. We wanted to win this game. We traveled 4.5 hours to win this game, and so you kind of lose an opportunity to really feel like you earned that division title because you got it from a loss instead of another team's loss, rather than you actually winning it yourself. And so I don't know. It's just a little bit of a weird feeling, and I guess you got to be in our shoes to really experience that as a player or as a coach. But that one, it still stings. It's going to sting for a while, and you never know when you get another chance to play that team.
Is it segmented stings? Because from start to finish, in a game like that, anything you can look back. Hey, you know what? This could have changed the course of the direction of the game.
Yeah, I mean, when it's that close and down to the wire like that, you always go back and you ask yourself, what could I have done a little bit better? That's as a coach and as a player both. And so I think we have that's a long flight home. The next day when it goes down like that.
So I've learned in this short time that we've been together that yes, losing does not sit well with you.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter if it's close or big, it does not sit well. So are you telling me you didn't really sleep last night and that you spent the entire flight poring over the tape?
Yeah. I got a little bit of rest. I'm trying to get over this illness myself. And so
you got tagged with it too, huh?
Yeah.
You're it?
I had a little NyQuil and got a little bit of rest. But yeah, it's been nothing but thinking about the game since I've been awake.
So you come back 4 times to tie this game and then take the lead. Does this mark this team as a bigger threat than many may not understand, because you guys are living from the inside out, knowing what the lion or the tiger or the animal that's in this team right now, this beast?
Man, I tell you, I just think every single week we go into a game, and it doesn't matter who we're playing, but we always think that there's a way to win that game. And a path to victory, if you will. And, if we bring those elements of that to life, we play to our strengths and exploit their weaknesses, we feel like we can come out on top. And, you talk about cliches. I know that's cliche as well, but at the same time, it is so true for our approach and how we go into each week. And so, I think this week, we need to find a way to beat Detroit. And then once we make it into the postseason, we need to find a way to win week 1. And then on and on and on. And that's really the name of the game. And that's what we've been doing all year long.
Yeah. You're not one to really do a lot of coach speak. So the closest you come is win one game at 1-0 each week.
Yeah.
That's as close. But I appreciate the quote of, we're going to investigate and find every resource possible to go 1-0 each week. And
that's right.
To me, that's giving you the full roster, all the different coaches, all the different elements, the matchups or whatever that you guys explore ad nauseum. So have you been pleased overall with the constant preparation that's going on behind the scenes that we don't see? And it's even beyond the immediate coaching staff, position coaches, but everything that goes into getting a win in this building.
Yeah, I think we've had a tremendous setup here. Ryan's done a great job implementing a lot of people, and to see it be so well ran from, training room, equipment, video. I mean, it's like a well-oiled machine here at this point of the season. And they all have a big part of what we're doing, the success we've had so far this year. And so, it takes a village. We've been saying that all year long, and that couldn't be more true.
Some specifics of the game that caught my attention. Booker, the pass rusher. He's a guy that did get his hands up, knocked down 2 passes, had that sack. He's got this big step, and he eats grass quickly to get to the quarterback. Is he rising?
Yeah, he's got. I mean, since he got back, he's been a fairly disruptive player for us, and so someone that you got to account for. I think he's doing a nice job in the run game as well, setting the edge and being slippery at times for those tackles. And so, no, I'm very pleased with where he's at right now. I think he's going to continue to ascend.
What makes Burden a tough out with the ball in his hands? It's one thing to have agility, the movement skills, but there's a toughness of it. I know you guys love that about him, but is there a little bit of surprise or just impressed?
Yeah, I think the start-stop ability is really rare for a guy that's as big as him. It showed up on his Missouri tape, and it showed up again last night multiple times where he's running an out-breaking route, and he can put on the brakes immediately, not run out of bounds, get vertical. And then what I love is he just has this mindset now. He's not going to just step out. He's going to go find a way to get a few more punishing yards after that, which is what we want to be about. And so he's really portraying our identity as a team right now.
Would you say Daniel Hardy fits that role as well?
Yeah. He's a little bit of an unsung hero, man. He does a phenomenal job on special teams. I don't know that he gets all the recognition that he deserves yet in that phase because he is an impact special teams player in this league, and he's been that way all year long. I feel similarly about Blackwell. Those two guys have really been our most consistent special teams players. But, you see Hardy, and we finally get him implemented a little bit on offense last night and get him in for a play, and it ends up being a 20-yard touchdown. So we might have to get him out there again.
I mean, he looks like a boulder in that position, and we know he's explosive, and he goes out, he hunts. Yep. He hunts bodies, and I think he hit a couple guys. He hit a couple guys, and he was the first guy there to congratulate Swift in the end zone.
Yeah, it wasn't quite how we drew it up, but he did a good job. Now we'll have to see if he's got just as good a hands.
The underhand toss to Swift. I know Caleb's a playmaker. He's a point guard. Is that planned, design, or improvisational on that?
That was planned. Yeah,
oh,
that was planned on that one. We were going to do a quick screen and didn't quite work out the way we wanted to.
And then you're not going to give away stuff, but I geek out about this stuff. The hook and ladder, which I mean, we saw you do it in Detroit, so yep. I think it's something that you take pride in. The execution has to be, synchronicity has to be on. Are there offshoots of that even?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're just scratching the surface of what you can do in that lateral world, and would like to see if we can't take that to the next level over the course of the next few seasons as well. But, that's one of those plays that was obviously hoping to score or get out of bounds. And, Swifty did what he felt natural in terms of getting vertical right there, getting us a first down. And, we had one more play to go ahead and win it.
So on to Detroit, and a lot of work to be done to figure out where they're at right now. Who knows what they'll be doing, but you know the beast inside there too, so they're going to be coming to play hard. Match and surpass, right?
There's no doubt about it, and we certainly remember week 2, 52 to 21, I believe, was the final score there. So, it's hard not to forget how that week went. None of us like that taste.
Well, you're going to get a warm embrace from the home crowd because they're jacked up.
Good.
So,
good.
You left a good taste in their mouth after the last time you were at home, so I think they'll be cranked up. Good. Enjoy your prep all week.
Right. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. He's dialed into football 24/7, 365 days. He cannot get away from it. When I sit there and interview him, you could see the wheels turning in his head. He's just on all the time.
Well, you're kind of spoiled because you get to interview him right after the game, and then you have a private interview with him when you get back into his office. But I listen to the interview that we do with him, and then I listen to the interview that he does with the media following the game because we can listen to it. And then I listen to the interview that he does with you. And there's a lot of similarities between that Ben Johnson. He's no more in a better mood hours away from the game than he is minutes removed from the game. And so I've really got to enjoy listening to Ben Johnson as much as any coach that I've ever listened talk at a podium, because it's satisfying for the answers that he's giving.
Yeah, and he is just uber competitive. The competitive nature, the competitive mindset on this football team. You're going to need guys that have that similar mentality, a dog mentality as a coach, a dog mentality as a player. That's the future of the Bears. They're going to bring in guys that are not going to be intimidated by pressure. They're going to embrace pressure and everything that comes with it, because guys that can respond to pressure moments mean you're going to have diamonds, Tom. Pressure. makes diamonds.
I hear that, but also the intimidation of the head coach. Going back 40 years when he used to sit in meetings and Ditka used to tell guys to their face by their name, if stop being so gosh darn sensitive.
Yeah, right.
And I don't think that's one thing that you can have as a professional athlete. You can't be sensitive if you're getting criticized in front of your peers. It's something that builds thick skin, and it's something that develops camaraderie inside that locker room.
Up next, our player profile interview with quarterback Caleb Williams. This is ESPN 1000 and the Bears Radio Network.
Bears.
It is gone!
Bears Weekly.
Time expires!
A deep dive into all things Bears.
And the Bears win!
With Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer, this is the home of the Bears, ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an in-clinic or virtual appointment and start feeling better tomorrow. With Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak, we have a sit-down with Caleb Williams from our Fox 32 Bears Game Day Live player profile that aired last week. That was just a chunk of it. Now the broader interview, my sit-down with him here as we look into the life of Caleb Williams circa 2025 in his second NFL season. You've never had a 40 that was documented, so I don't know really what your 40 time is, right? We can GPS
I've had a sophomore year of high school.
Really?
Elite 11 camp, yeah.
What was it?
4.57.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's better.
It's better
because
now,
you're stronger.
probably.
And,
Yeah.
but you have 4 runs of 20 miles per hour this year. All the quarterbacks in the league have 4 combined outside of you. You have gears and it gets you out of trouble or it takes you where you need to go. Tell me about all that.
I've never wanted, as a player, as a young man growing up, I was always, I never wanted to be one-sided. I never wanted somebody to have a tendency. And so my thing was I always want to be able to go left. I always want to be able to go right, attack at the line of scrimmage, or even if I have to run backwards. My thing is I lift, I work on my form and things like that in the off season and running. I work on my form throwing, just being able to try and be able to be whatever is needed for the team at whatever moment may come, whether I need to run the ball, whether I need to pass, move the pocket, get out of things, get out of sacks, whatever the case may be. So, that's been my mindset growing up, and I want to continue that as long as I can.
You have got to be the, or if not the, one of the most best conditioned quarterbacks that have come through in a while.
Yeah.
Would you take that as a badge of honor, knowing what I don't know is how much you put in behind the scenes to be physically ready to go?
That's important for me is being able to be at my best when it's required at the end of games and things like that, where I'm not tired, where my legs aren't tired. And so it kind of goes to the Steph Curry, he's the most well-conditioned, he can run around all day. Yeah, he may slouch down for a second and things like that, but when he has to go, he can go. And that's my mindset is, even if I'm you see me huffing and puffing, if I got to run the next play, I can go the next play. And that's kudos to the people here that help me with that, but also just like I said, the mindset of myself is I always want to be ready when my number's called.
I asked Byard this last week. We sat him down, and he does a lot of stuff outside of the building. And I say, hey, how much do you spend on this ballpark? He says, probably 6 figures. Is it an investment also?
Yes.
It's
an investment.
Yeah.
I have some machines at my house that I use weekly. Some that I use while I sleep, and then the other part of it is the investment isn't just machines or people. It's also my food and what I eat. It's the water intake. It's the electrolytes. It's the vitamins. The milk. All the different things to be able to make sure that I'm ready to go for each week.
Do you know what you're putting in? Do you also do your own research?
What's
the magic potion for you then? What do you think is the best out of all that? Hey man, I gotta have this every day.
It's my diet.
Yeah,
it's my diet and my vitamins. Because there are weeks where most important thing is your mind, and some weeks when I'm feeling better, if I don't get hit a lot, sometimes I lower the maybe the physical. And maybe not doing too much of the physical, or maybe I up it, or whatever the case may be. And some of that's feeling, some of that's how I'm feeling throughout the week. But I would say definitely the diet is important for me, and then my sleep is important.
Write all this down for me.
Yeah,
I just need it to survive. Micah Parsons called you a pit bull.
Yep.
And that's a badge of honor also. But to me, it's more than that. You're hard to tackle. When you're in the open field, do you think people are surprised they slip off at you?
I think so, because people I think that I'm not fast, maybe by how it looks when I run.
But not only that, just the physical.
Or just the physicality. Yeah. I try to stay out of the physical side of it, unless I'm in the pocket. In the pocket, I try to get out of bounds or slide nowadays. But yeah, I think some people are surprised a little bit, and then I think some of it's also I see and feel the pocket, and so I'll move slightly to where it kind of messes up their angle, to where they're not actually hitting me maybe as much as they would, or being able to grab me as much as they would. So I can either slip out of it or just go down and live on for the next play.
Eyes in back of your head, both sides, and these two.
Yeah.
I mean, that's rare. I mean, that's instincts. That's understanding, like you say, angles. Like any safety might be. Maybe a safety is not as fast, but their angles and their intelligence to get there.
Yep.
Is that God given?
I've worked on it. I've played other positions throughout my career, and then I think some of the other sports that I've played have helped that. I work on it. That is something that I do work on. I work on the moves. I work on my being in balance when I'm doing the moves, and not just being freelance and all of this. Like I take real pride in those things, and whether it's off balance throws, whether it's on balance, whether it's flipping my hips or whatever. Like I work on all of it. So like I said, when it shows up, that I'm not thinking. And my mind is clear.
J.T. Barrett, quote, freaky stuff in his body.
Yeah.
The way your torso moves.
Yeah.
He says it's not normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that normal? That's a great thing, though. That's your spin moves, your twists, your turns, your angles. You're throwing from everything.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Talk Ben. What's the hangout like?
It's great. It's we laugh, we joke. We FaceTime some of the teammates every once in a while. If something funny happens in practice, we FaceTime, family members or whatever the case may be. Just us being in there together has been huge for me, and my belief and trust and things like that in him. And I think it's also been the same for him, is in the moments, and I think it shows. Like I said, the loyalty, the trust, or the belief. It shows in those moments that it's needed. And he'll walk over to me and be like, I need you here. Like it's time for you to go. And in those moments, it's I believe and trust that he's going to call the right play. And if he doesn't, I'll make him right. And that's kind of how we go about it.
So in my opinion, and many others now, the throw is the best throw in Bears history.
Okay.
For everything that came with it. It's the Packers. It's the prime time and the bright lights. It's the night you guys basically clinched a playoff spot. Yep. The magnitude of this arcing throw that you almost look like you lined up and watched you drive.
Yeah.
I'm talking Bears history.
Yep.
And I went and threw deep dive on it. Do you think it's your best ever throw?
No, I threw a Hail Mary in a championship game.
I know that.
Yeah. No, that's probably not. That's
NFL, baby.
In the NFL, yeah. Probably my best throw. If I get one of those throws in, a big playoff game in the NFL or in the Super Bowl, it'll probably top the championship.
It's a where were you when play.
Yep.
And I know it's already starting, because if you had a snapshot of the entire city, where they were at that time, it's a show. That throw, that catch, I think that throw is going to help define where this team goes. Would you say that's fair?
I would say it's fair. I think it's going to help define next many years. It's starting of something good here, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to be a part of the change.
Keep rolling, baby.
Yeah, we'll do.
Thank you.
We'll do. Thank you.
Tom, that was prior to the game. So he winds up with a season-high 330 yards. First Bears quarterback with at least 2 touchdowns of 35 yards or more in the first half in a single game since 1991. Now he's at 37-30 for the season, approaching that 4,000-yard mark, 25 touchdowns, 23 games with no interceptions in his first 33 NFL games, second most by any passer in the NFL the last 2 years, and best in NFL history for a 2-year span. And we're just getting started with Caleb. Anything that stick out about that interview, about how he prepares, what he puts in his body, how he has a routine, and he's not going to break that routine. We see him before the game. I don't know if you've seen it. He's in the If it's at Soldier Field, he's in the hallway working that shoulder, doing different things, and he's got a routine, and he's never changed.
And as much as we get football-specific questions that we want to hear the answers to, I don't think a lot of us really know the behind the scenes of Caleb. And that's what I appreciated most about it, is listening to the different things that he does to make sure that he's ready mentally and physically, hydration to food. And when we had an interview at the very beginning of the season, he used to sit and talk about how he practiced his cadence while he was driving in his car. So those are the little things that he's improved at. And he is more efficient with his cadence at the line of scrimmage. But you talk about the big picture of how fresh he is late in the game. And you hear about the things that he does behind the scenes that no one will ever get to see unless he's on the field and it's an exhausting part of the game and he still looks fresh as a daisy.
Did you hear Kyle Shanahan's postgame? How he evaluated Caleb Williams with his size, height, speed, and that arm. He said, this guy is rare for his size and what he can do and how he can push that football down the field, break tackles, move on the fly. Everything we've seen, he got high praise from Kyle Shanahan. I feel that Kyle Shanahan I feel Kyle Shanahan feels they dodged one.
Right. And it is because, listen, Brock Purdy is a heck of a quarterback. He's super intelligent. He runs that system as perfectly as you can possibly run it. But when you put a quarterback in the stadium that they were in, how loud the crowd noise was, what he did up into the last play of the game, you just have to admire what Caleb is, and the scouting department and Ryan Poles when he picked him number one and where he's developing into, and Kyle Shanahan, because he knows football so well, he knows that Caleb is just scratching the surface of ultimately what he's gonna be. And so I think that's exciting for the NFL.
Even though the pass was incomplete, when you really watch it again, he was getting hit, big man in his face, off-balance throw, and he short-hopped it to a receiver in the end zone, and that could have been that if that ball was a little higher, Jade Walker's catching that ball for the winning score.
Well, I was talking to a group of people that were sitting in the stadium in the second level right above that end zone. And to them, they thought that he caught it. And they got up and they were cheering, and they're all dressed in Bears clothes. And all of a sudden, they found out that it was incomplete. So depending upon where you're sitting, everybody had a different view and reaction to it.
Oh, that would have been something. That's Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. Coming up next, Jim Miller, former Bears quarterback, joins us on ESPN Chicago and the Bears Radio Network.
Your Bears Weekly is back, and so are Tom Thayer and Jeff Joniak on ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by IGS Energy with Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak, and a man that will be joining us once again once the off-season begins. He is just too doggone busy during the regular season, but he's kind enough to join us for a segment here this week. Our good friend and former Bears quarterback from SiriusXM NFL Radio, moving the chains. We've got Jim Miller. Jim, how you feeling? You miss us?
I do. I miss you. I hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas. We're all ready for a happy new year with this Bears football season. So, yeah, good to be with you, gentlemen.
Jim, so many people are trying to compare this team to either the 18 Nagy team or your 0-1 team in the style of victory, particularly 0-1 with the big comebacks and the unlikely turn of events from Mike Brown taking it to the house a couple times in back-to-back weeks. How would you frame what you've heard and seen from the 2025 Bears?
Yeah, I do think there's a no-quit attitude from this team, and I think a lot of that stems from the coach. I think he's geared these guys that, play to the whistle, play to the last play, and I think they've really harnessed that. And the whole team is rallied together. It is an exciting year, and it's a shame they fall just a play short out there in San Francisco. But I think they've, we talked about battle tested. I think they've battle tested themselves into what could be a very good postseason. I think they're primed for it, and they're prepped for it, and they're ready for it.
Jim, at the beginning, you said Happy New Year. When did you recognize during this season that it's a new era in Bear football?
I think it was about halfway through the season. I think for me, it was probably about 5 weeks ago. I forget who they were playing, but just Caleb. I was watching him just now, his command of the huddle. You can see him coming out of the huddle, speaking to the guys. He started to, point things out at the line of scrimmage. And I just think his demeanor on the sideline too. When plays went bad earlier in the year, I thought he got frustrated and he felt a little overwhelmed. And now I feel that he's in command. And I think when that started to happen, I think the offense started to function a lot better. I still don't think they're passing the ball as consistent as what they need to, but the last 3 weeks have been really good indicators. He threw for basically 250 the last 3 weeks and then over 300 against the 49ers, because I think he's just getting more consistent. He's more comfortable in it. And, so I think the best is yet to come. I think they're finally hitting on all cylinders offensively.
Hey, Jim, when you look at the Shanahan, you look at the Ben Johnson, you look at what's going on down in Jacksonville, you look at what's going on in New England and stuff, and even though New England has an older offensive coordinator, where do you think these offenses are going? Because I see some of the most creative play calling and play development that I've seen maybe in a short period of time in a long time.
Yeah, I think, you see the good play callers. You mentioned Shanahan. I think Josh McDaniels, I've been with Josh. I think he's a very good game planner, and I think he's a very good play caller. And I think now it's not happenstance. Ben Johnson's a pretty good, game planner. He's a very good play caller. And I think, these guys are always, even against good defenses, they're going to find a way to really, weaken them, or expose their weaknesses. And I think all those guys are, every week it's the same thing. I don't think they look at it as like there's not a defense that can just flat out shut us down. I think for them it's a challenge where, hey, we're about to light these guys up. We know how well respected they are defensively, but we can show them a thing or two. And I think ego is a part of it too, because I think they truly, want to go after some of the, I'll give you a case in point. Like when the Bears played Philly, Vic Fangio, everybody talks about him. The Bears lit him up pretty good. That's a pretty good Philadelphia defense with a good roster, but it was no problem for the Bears to rush well over 200 yards at the strength of what is Philadelphia, and that's their defensive line. So it's going to keep going that way.
With Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak, and Jim Miller from SiriusXM NFL Radio, moving the chains, the former Bears quarterback. They're gritty. All the way to the bitter end of games, they are gritty. You take away the Week 2 game, that's the only major blowout of the season. And they're not going to forget that this week. How are the Lions poised from your perspective to deal with this Week 18 matchup with nothing to play for other than it's a division opponent? Dan Campbell is also a gritty guy and wants his football team to give its full best.
Yeah, I think the Lions will be ready to play. They have a lot of professional pride, as you talked about, Jeff. Dan Campbell's they're not just going to go out there and slap it out there like, oh, let's just get through this and on to the offseason. A lot of this stuff carries over into next year. They're probably going to play some younger players. We know their secondary is pretty much decimated at this point, but they're going to fight, and a lot of those guys are showcasing themselves that they can be a part of what the Lions have done the last 5 years. So I would expect their best. They're not coming off a great performance, and like any competitive athlete, you want to get rid of that bad taste in your mouth. So I think Jared Goff, the offense, they've scored well over 30 points every game. They're going to be poised to play a lot better than what they played a week ago that knocked them out.
Jim, hypothetical scenario in Detroit. You see Dan Campbell taking over play calling a few weeks ago. How about if you just let Jared Goff call his own plays? Because, with the way Dan sees things from the sidelines, he's an emotional guy. But the experience that Jared Goff has in his career, and it's a hypothetical, I maybe should even ask it, but what would you think about that in terms of a quarterback's career?
Yeah, I think, he's at the stage where he can. I think he's very involved in the offense as it is. I mean, minimum, if I'm Dan Campbell, I'm giving Jared Goff a play selection at the line of scrimmage. We call a lot of these checks that are out there. Like, for instance, I had a coach, we called it scat check with me. We could run the slant play, inside zone run, the cut play, slant was the stretch play, the cut was the inside zone run, and then the T meant turn. I could call turn protection and signal any route depending on the coverage that the defense was presenting me. So I had a free buffet. I could be all curl, all go. Maybe I want a dig with a stop combination. I could signal combination routes. So something like that, I think Dan Campbell would be very comfortable, just say, hey, man, scat, check with me. You got it. Meaning you're calling. If you like the coverage, you call your route combinations that you want. But if they present, say, a 6 or 7-man box, go to the run plays. Run the stretch, either away from the strength or the cut play. If the under defense presents itself, run that inside zone run where we get the good cutback. And so it's just your quarterback reading the defense. I got 2 runs, and I can call any pass play off of the protection depending on the box numbers. And I think Dan would feel very comfortable with Jared Goff doing that.
Sounds like an all-you-can-eat buffet, football style, Jim.
Awesome. I've been calling a pass every down. Turn.
Jim, as we wrap things up here, you mentioned that this could be a really promising postseason for the Bears. They're going to have at least one home game. If they get the number 2, you're in a position to possibly get 2 home games. That would be monumental. This crowd is really impressed Ben Johnson. They are wound up and they're hungry. This is, and I mentioned this to Tom yesterday, we discussed, this is a wide open playoff postseason this year. There's no singular dominant team in most people's opinions. I would share that opinion. How do you see it? Because you've had an overview of the entire 32-team NFL over the course of the season and seeing how things are developing here. Could we have surprises in the Super Bowl?
I definitely think on the NFC side of things. Look at Atlanta last night knocking off the Rams. So if I'm the Bears, I want to be that 2 seed. The Packers, hopefully they stay in 7. I'd want to face the Packers the first round. I think the Packers, they can't stop the run. They're beat up at quarterback. But other than that, to me, Seattle has proven to me to be the most complete team. And they overcome their turnovers, which is crazy. Darnold can have 3 turnovers in the game, and the Rams defense, the Seattle defense, they seem to make up for it. So to me, Seattle's the most dangerous team. Eagles are one-sided. They're dominant defensively. I think 49ers, they're dominant offensively. The Bears just lit them up in their defense. But I think, to me, Seattle is the most complete team. And so I think it's really open. It's wide open for any NFC team. So why not the Bears? Why not the Bears?
I believe they believe that as well. So that's a team with great belief. Jim, so good to hear from you, and we'll be looking forward to your 2026 impact here on our show on Bears Weekly. Appreciate you, man.
Good to be with you guys. Thanks
Happy
for
New
having me.
Year. That's Jim Miller with Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak. When we return, Tom's Thoughts, our final segment on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
Welcome back to Bears Weekly, a Chicago Bears production on the flagship home of the Bears, ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an in-clinic or virtual appointment and start feeling better tomorrow. Time for Tom's Thoughts. Can't wait. Before we do that, though, a real quick look at the Lions, Tom. Disappointing season for them, but they're still going to be a tough out, as we alluded to. Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't know what St. Brown's availability would be, but Isaac Tesla, the receiver, has really elevated his game. He's a third-round pick, and he's a player to watch in the future. Very, very, very good player on 50-50 balls. Penei Sewell. Jack Campbell's elevated his game at linebacker. Aiden Hutchinson is he is, and Al-Qadim Muhammad is having a year at age 30. Wow. This time they're going to see defensive tackle Liam McNeil. He was not available. He's a disruptive inside player. And the tight end situation, no Laporta. I'm not sure about Brock Wright yet, but overall, how do you look at this game from a matchup perspective?
Incentive comes in 2 different shapes and sizes. You have the incentive of the Detroit Lions to beat a divisional opponent and make the end of the season miserable. You have the incentive of the Chicago Bears to take another step forward and be what the team ultimately they're going to be. But when you look at the talent of the Detroit Lions, I mean, there are some significant matchups there. They had 2 receivers that had over 100 yards in the first game. They got a tandem of running backs that Ben Johnson knows is better as well as anybody. They have a quarterback that has upper level experience in the league. So, and they have a defense that has a middle linebacker, a premier defensive end. The defensive tackle you mentioned is back in the mix. And so they have a lot of assets that I think they're going to come out and they're going to play at a really high emotional level.
All right, Tom's Thoughts ready to roll out. Flight of the Kitty Hawk, the Wright brothers. Wow. What is this?
All right, Nashawn Wright, Darnell Wright.
All right.
Those guys, they invented the Kitty Hawk, the first airplane. But you look at their role in this football game, when you talk about Darnell Wright going against Hutchinson, and you look at, I talked about 2 receivers going for over 100 yards, and they have other receivers that could impact the game that statistically didn't have a huge game. So Nashawn Wright, Darnell Wright, the Wright brothers, they got a lot to do with, how this game is going to go.
Well, this Rise of the Rookies. Let's start with that. Rise of the Rookies, 41 versus 299. What's this?
So the first time around, the rookies were accountable for 41 offensive yards. This past Sunday night, they're responsible for 299 yards. So if you look at the Rise of the Rookies from week 2 to right now, they play an entirely different role than they did week 2.
Very good. And 13 combined touchdowns for the rookies this season. And then save your hugs and handshakes for after the game.
Yeah. So when you come and you play a common opponent that you're familiar with, and you have friendships that were developed in college or overtime in the NFL, and you kind of see them on the field warming up, you always want to go for that friendly embrace. And Dick always used to say, the same people that are hugging you in front are going to stab you in the back. So whatever happens in this game, you save the happiness, the handshakes, the hugs, the New Year's Eve greetings for after the game, because I don't want to have anything friendly to do before kickoff. And after the game, when you're going your way and I'm going my way, okay, handshake, see you next year, hug, good to see you. But I don't want it before the game. I'm not going to come and hug you and then cut you the first chance I get. So I would rather cut you multiple times and then check on you after the game.
All right, so you're trying to tell me your entire career you never did that before a game?
No.
Ex-teammate at Notre Dame?
No.
Grant Wistrom was your good friend from the Rams?
I didn't.
Really?
Mike Golick, we saw him the other night, played against him in the Philadelphia Eagles in the Fog Bowl. And I would rather cut you and win the play than not cut you and have you win the play.
I love it. One thing, the Hall of Fame Final 15 was released, and the radio analyst and outstanding tackle with the Detroit Lions, Lomas Brown, did not make the cut from 26 to 15, so I was bummed about that. He's a great, great dude. Love that guy, and we'll be happy to see him on Sunday. But, yeah, I thought maybe this would be the time for Lomas, but he'll get another opportunity.
Right. I did extend the offer to him that we have all the coffee he could possibly drink on game day, and he is welcome into the booth.
Yeah, he certainly is. So you'll make that one exception to the rule for the Detroit Lions game.
Well, now that I'm a has-been, yes. But if it was pregame, no.
All right, that's going to wrap us up. The executive producer of the Bears Radio Network is Eric Ostrowski. Thanks to Kendra Smith in the ESPN studios, and Dan Bruley, Jordan Tredup, and Katie Fox. For Tom Thayer and Jim Miller, I'm Jeff Joniak. This has been Bears Weekly on the radio home of the Chicago Bears, ESPN Chicago. Coming up next, we'll be joining the Alamo Bowl featuring USC and TCU. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Chicago Bears Network presentation of Bears Weekly, hosted by the mayor of Bearsville, Jeff Joniak, and Surfmaster Tom Thayer. Podcasts are available on the Chicago Bears official app, brought to you by Verizon and Apple Podcasts. Bears Weekly has been brought to you by Miller Lite.